Hello there guys, and welcome back to a brand new 852 car modeling tutorial. And if you've followed our series before, welcome back. If you haven't, then I hope you enjoy the series. Be sure to check out our Lamborghini and our Koenigsegg tutorial as well. I'll put the links in the description for those. So, just a quick small change of plan for those who were expecting a BMW M4 video or tutorial series following the BMW M4. I had a few issues setting up the blueprints and getting them aligned properly. So I switched to the M2 instead, 2016 model. I chose this because one, I wanted to keep with the BMW because our viewers were kind of interested in seeing a BMW coming forward. So I thought I'd stick with the BMW. I chose the M2. Had a look for the few M3 blueprints, had a similar issue with the M4. So I've gone for the M2 mainly because it's got quite a nice complex front end here, fairly complex rear end as well, and but it's also got some nice curvature down the side, which is pretty cool. One thing to consider with this car is we have some serious curves down this right hand side, and the rear wheel here, because the track is a little bit larger because it's a high performance car over the standard 2 series, and we've got quite a lot of curvature around this side which we're going to need to make sure that we pay a lot of attention to. We can also see we've got quite a lot of creases down here, so it's important to get all those reference images in place so that we can make sure that those creases are all going to go to the right location. Usually in the past 2 tutorials that I've had hugely detailed blueprints, blueprints of 3D models, so it's kind of easy to follow. This time what we're working with here is something a little more tricky, something that you'll probably be more accustomed to, where we just have a simple line drawing of the car itself. So again, this is going to require us to have a whole decent amount of reference images. So if I open mine up just here and just scroll through, we can see that we've got quite a lot of different images going through, and we can see we've got that curvature around this side here. So let's fire one of these open on this side. Now, I think what we'll do to get started, again, if you followed the series before, I'm going to start in a very similar fashion with the front wheel arch just here. Now, it looks to me on my reference images that we're going to want to ignore this line. I was looking at the blueprints here and I couldn't really figure out what this line is actually for. And again, a similar story with this line here. I'm not too sure which this line is kind of, which direction that's kind of going in the actual car. So we're going to start with the wheel arch, we're going to extrude up, and we're going to mirror this front end section here. So if I just bring my reference image, we're going to basically go all the way down and underneath here. We're going to go along the top here all the way, and I think the best thing to do would be to draw the outline here and basically get this whole shape laid out, and then we'll extrude in order to create all of the vent that we have here and the lower vent down here. So I think even though it's a fairly complex shape, I don't think it's going to be too tricky to get us started with. Now, what we'll do here, I've already got my blueprint set up. Again, if you're not sure how to do that, I can link in the description to our blueprints tutorial. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with a pipe. I'm going to rotate this around just 90 degrees on the z-axis there. Now this is going to be the start of the wheel arch section here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull this out and roughly into position down this front end. Now again, I've got fairly high resolution blueprints. The reason that I went for this car instead of the M4, because I did find some better matching blueprints, but the problem was I think there was only something like 1,000 pixels wide, whereas these are 4,000 pixels. That means we're going to get some decent resolution as we zoom in here. Now I'm going to match this up with the center cap of the wheel, and we're just going to scale this up to something like this. Now we're going to want to go into our channel box editor here, into our poly pipe. First of all, we're going to want to take this thickness down. 0.1 looks pretty good. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to make all of these sections here a little bit more manageable. So we have quite a lot of subdivisions inside here. We probably don't want that many, maybe just now 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe that's not too bad. So it looks like if we get a little bit of a rotation on here, do something like that, so we can line this subdivision up with the crease in the bumper. This one can move up here, this one can go up there, down and around here. That could work. Yeah, we're happy with that. So what we'll do is we'll select our faces here by right clicking, and we'll get rid of all of those sections that we don't need, so we just have what's there for the arch. And then what we could do is we'll just get these into position a little bit better. So it looks like what we'll want to do is we'll maybe bring this one down. So this one can run down along the side skirt. Now what we're wanting to do here is we're wanting to use this time to plan all of the geometry and roughly where it's going to go. It's far easier to plan now whilst we have very little geometry than it is to go through and think about it later. So we can see here we've got a crease which starts there. Again, I can't really identify that in the car itself, but just in case it pops up on another reference image, we can leave this one in line here. We're going to have these elements going down there, which is fine. We may want to bring this one down and this one down, maybe this one ever so slightly, because this one now can play to this section. So it means that we'll have two bits that run down, and along there we'll have a larger section along here as well. Now another thing to consider with these types of blueprints is there is actually a lot of detail in the car on the side skirt here, so we'll need to remember to pay close attention to our blueprints at that time. Okay, so we're going to want to bring all of these in here. Okay. So it looks like what I've actually done is I've actually brought these in too far. We're going to want these to sit actually out here. So pull these out on the outside of the arch rather than the inside of the arch. Because we've still got the rear sections in, make sure you're dragging and selecting these elements here so that we can pull those all in. Bring those in like so. Now, we want to make sure we're nice and curved, and again we want this line here to follow there. Now it's a bit tricky here. This is going to be a crease, so what we want to do is we want to stay on one side of this crease. So I'm going to stay on, let's see, this side here. The reason I'm going to do that is when we add an edge loop in here to cut this panel apart, it'll be easier to do it on this side rather than the other. So let's just pull these down. Nice curvature here. Now, the majority of cars have an extra line in here. Now it's not in our blueprints again, and I'll bring in the reference image in a second just to show. Bring these down here. Now what we'll see on this image here is we can see that we have that full archway, which is quite a sharp edge as it goes all the way around this outside here. So what we're aiming to do is to create that here with the edge of this pipe. So this is going to be going all the way around, and we're going to make this nice and sharp when it comes to smoothing the model further down the line. Let's just get this in position here. Okay, so we're looking pretty good there. Maintain that curvature. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get this, if we go to X-ray shaded, what we're going to want to do now is line this arch up here with the actual curvature of the arch from the front. So what we'll do is we'll grab our points here, and we'll see that we just want to pull all of these in. Like so. Because it's important to do it at this point, because what this is going to do for us is this is going to help us structure our front bumper. And again, we can do this now when we have very little geometry rather than a whole host of geometry, a whole load of it. So bring these in here. Okay. So what we can do now is once we've done that, we'll double check just to make sure we've got a nice shape to that, which we do. Now looking at the back option, the actual reverse side of the wheel. We're not going to see this on our blueprint, but inside our reference images we can see that it does follow a similar trend down here. So what we're going to do is go back into our multi-view down here. We're going to grab these points. We're going to go in, but we're not going to go in quite as far. It looks to me like we want to be something like this. And we're just going to follow the curvature up the back side here. You can kind of see where the arch is there. So let's grab these points too. I think maybe this one ever so slightly there. Okay, so again, I'm just going to want to visually check that just to see that we're looking pretty good, which I think we are. So now what we'll want to do is we're going to want to grab all of these extra faces here, everything but the front section, and we'll just hit delete. So what we have now is our arch, our wheel arch around here, which is flowing around fairly nicely. Now we can see on here that we have quite a jagged line here. Now we don't want to add any additional geometry in here because we want to keep it as minimum as possible just now, and then we can add to it after. So what we'll do with this just now then is we'll start to follow around the bumper itself. So again, I said before, I'm not sure where these lines are on the actual car itself. I've got my reference images again open to the side of me here. But what we'll do is we'll try to follow it a little bit. Well, maybe we won't follow it too much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two edges on the outside here. I'm going to hit Control E, which is going to bring up my extrusion. I'm always going to click on this little circle here for the world option, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that up like so. So again, we're going to have that follow the line of the bumper there. What we'll do is we'll bring this to here and this to here. Now it looks like on the actual car itself it hasn't got a defined line, but there is a line that runs down here and it goes all the way to this corner, and then we bring everything else down here. So that's what we'll aim to do with this section too. What I'll maybe do here is just bring these a little bit lower, and in adjusting those we're going to need to adjust them in our front view as well. And again here what we'll do is we'll bring this a little bit lower as well, and again just make sure we're maintaining the correct curvature there. What we'll do real quick is we'll go to our mesh tools, insert an edge loop, and we're going to drop a loop inside here, and we'll just pull that out so we're maintaining curve like so. And again we'll make sure we're maintaining curve on the front view too. I think what we'll actually do with this one is we'll hit Control E again, and we're going to pull this up to this point. And I think what we'll do with this point is this is going to become one of these corner sections. I'm going to hold V, I'm going to snap these two together, select them both, edit mesh and merge so they'll become one. And then finally what I'm going to do is select each of the lines here, again hit Control E, we'll just pull these out like so. And these lines are going to now again connect, so I'm going to hold V, snap these two to the center and merge them, and I'll bring these elements out here like so. Okay, so we have a rough look at that front section. Now what's going to happen here is this is going to be vertical, so we've pulled out on the world option, so we've pulled straight out on the Z axis, so this line here is completely straight. What we want is we want this line to start to follow the curvature, so what we've done here is we've gone straight to that next point, which it mirrors with this point here. So what we're going to want to do is we'll grab those points and then we're going to pull them in so that they match the same location on this front section. So we'll pull these all the way in here. Again, we'll add some geometry in there at a later date. Essentially what I do when I model the cars, if you haven't again been with us before, is I like to lay down a huge base mesh which covers the whole of the car. Then I like to extract all the panels, and then I like to add the details inside. So that's just my process of working through here. Now what we'll do is we'll actually follow this line a little bit here, and then we'll start to break away as we move all the way up to this headlight here. Okay. So we can see now on our main view that we've got a little bit of shape inside. Now, looking at this straight away, we're going to have an issue because our line here isn't flowing too nicely, so it'll make our model bobble ever so slightly. So what we'll do is we probably won't follow that line, we'll just pull that in there in a little bit. Okay, so that's looking not too bad just now. Now, what we have on the inside of this line is we actually have an edge, so what we'll do is we'll pull to the outside of this edge here, because on the actual car itself it then extrudes in, has a little lip. That lip is going to run all the way around and join over here. So what we'll maybe do is we'll grab all of the edges here, we'll hit Ctrl E, and again on the world option we're just going to pull into the side ever so slightly, and I'm just going to pull these points up like so, and this one down. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this point, I'm going to hit Ctrl E. This is going to be the actual curve inside, and we'll want to rotate this around slightly. I'm going to hit Ctrl E again, and then I'm going to take this all the way to the other side here. In my side view, I'm going to pull this out as well until it's where I want it to be, which is around here, and then the extra corner section I'm going to want to pull that out too, like so. And what we'll want to do inside here is we'll just want to make sure that we're maintaining a nice angle to that curve. As we can see, this is a little bit too straight, but that's not too big of an issue just now. We can check our top view here just to make sure we're falling in line as well, which it looks like maybe we're a bit too far out in terms of the top view. Let's grab these 2 points, maybe just pull those in ever so slightly. Okay. So what we now have is a kind of front section which is going in and around there. Now what we're going to need to do with these points is, you can see how they're falling out at a slightly different angle, so I'm just going to pull each of these out so that they're not completely straight on with the car. Just pull all of those out a little bit there, so you can see that we've got that following around quite nicely. What we'll maybe do for now as well is we'll go to our mesh tools again, we'll insert an edge loop. I'm going to drop one just here, and we'll pull up to this line, and what I want to do at this point is we'll want to lose a curvature, so we'll pull that like so, and this one like so, and I'm going to insert an edge loop again just inside here. Again, we can add a little bit of curvature, so this is just going to give us some scope to add some information inside here. Now what we may want to do is we can see that we actually have a headlight up here. So again, whilst we're at this base mesh, we want to consider the next stages that we're going to go. So what we might actually do is I'm just going to delete these points. So I'll delete those lines and then delete the vertices associated with them. I'm going to come in again with our edge tool, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to align one to go here. We'll have one which goes here, and we'll have one which will meet up there as well. So what that means for us now is it means that the geometry that we have in place here isn't just for this section, it is going to feed into other sections. So we can be wary of those as we go. And then at the top here, what we can do is we can make sure that these lines are curved and matching the curvature of the bumper just here. Okay, so we're looking okay there. And again, even though we've aligned with the blueprints, what we want to do is we want to just double check with our eye just to make sure that we're maintaining some good curvature in there, which we are. good. Okay, now what we'll want to do is we'll maybe want to pull this point a bit more in here, because it looks like it actually fades into the bodywork, and then we have another section that comes down and around here, so we have the line actually missing there. We also have down here a section that comes along and runs along here. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at that just now. So we'll grab this edge, we'll hit extrude. We'll pull out to maybe this point here. And it looks like it's a little bit more angled on the actual car than it is on these blueprints. Blueprints are a bit tricky at times to actually follow correctly. So pull that out just there. And then on this edge here, it's more of an angle up here. So we'll just bring that up to something like that. And again, on our views out here, we're going to want these to be moving with the geometry of the car, so we'll pull these out, like so. And we can see here that the front's going to give us a good idea of where these should go. So we'll go here and here. Okay. Maybe a little bit there. Okay. So we see now that we're following that curvature out quite nicely. Looks like that maybe steps up just a little bit more. So got that nice front end section in here. Okay, so let's have a think where we want to go next. So all of this section here we want to do extruding in on what we've created here. So what we'll want to do at this point is we'll maybe grab this edge and hit Ctrl E, and we're going to come into this point here. Like so. Now what it looks like is on the car, this kind of kicks out a little bit. So as we can see, we kind of bend in and then we kick out. And then if we hit Ctrl E again, this is now going to give us a little bit of that lip. So we'll get these in line with this section here. Maybe pull them apart a little bit as well, so they don't smooth. So they smooth a bit better, should I say, rather than sharpen up. And what we'll do with this is going to be the section that runs down and around here. So maybe this whole section just sits in a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't kick out quite as far, like so. Okay. Now when it comes to these points again, we're maybe not quite straight on, so we'll pull them out ever so slightly. Okay. Grab the edges in here. I'm going to hit Ctrl E again to extrude. Basically, when we're going through this process, we're going to be extruding a whole lot of stuff. Now we'll do our best to follow the line around here and here. Okay, so we'll want a piece of geometry in here, so we'll make sure that's following nicely there. Maybe adjust the positioning of this one a little bit. We'll hit Ctrl E again, and we're going to pull this all the way down to about here. It looks like here we're going to want to mimic this curve, but we're going to want to do it so it comes down and meets this section here. So we'll maybe stop that there, hit Ctrl E, and then we'll pull this around here, and then the same around here. Again, we'll work on this curve in a second. We'll just lay out the whole kind of position of it here. Okay, So we'll bring this in, something like that. This can come down, just inside there. So it's all about getting these lines kind of flowing all around rather than having angles inside them. And then this here is going to follow all the way into the center here. Okay, so we can see that that's dropping down just there. What we'll want to do in our side view here is we're going to want to make sure that we are following the correct line. So we can see here we kind of are at that point. We'll pull this one back here. And then we've got our elements of our curve here. Now we can see again we've got a little bit extra curve in there, but for now it's not a big deal. Okay. Okay, and again we'll just check to the eye just to make sure that's all looking good. That's looking good to me. What we'll do here is we'll grab this edge, we'll hit Control E again, bring this out, we're going to hold X, and we're just going to snap that to the center of the grid. So holding X, we're just going to snap that to the middle there. You can see we've got our grid points inside here. And then just pull that down, so that's sitting where it should be. And then we'll just pull that out a little bit there so we can help maintain that curve as we go. And then what we'll do as well is we'll grab this top section, we'll hit Control E, and we'll just pull this out, maybe pull it around here. We'll hit Control E again, and then we're just going to pull this all the way to the center. So again we'll hold X, we'll snap these over here. Maybe getting a little bit too thick. We'll want these to be a bit further out here, so let's get these selected again. And we can pull this one out. And we'll pull that one out again to kind of help reflect that curve. Got this bit coming out here. So it looks like the whole of this point is a little bit too far. So pull those in here. Take these back in as well. Looks like we're quite far out here. That's a bit deceiving because on these blueprints there's no actual information here, but when you do look at the car you can see these elements protruding out somewhat. Okay, so I think what we've got there is looking pretty good so far. We'll maybe want these to be in here. And then again, if the blueprint's on 100% perfect, as long as we get a happy medium in between, we'll be looking pretty good. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is we'll have a look at this section here. So if we grab this edge and hit Control E and bring this up here, I think what we might actually do is we'll grab all of these edges here. So we'll grab all of these edges. We're going to pull up to just at the bottom of the grill here, and what we will do is we'll follow this whole line, but what we actually want is all of this to kind of go up towards the light here, I think. So let's pull all those in. So what we want to do at this point is let's just go into our front view. We're going to grab all these points and make sure, because we have got a little bit of a crease where we actually head up towards the emblem and the bonnet there, so I'll pull those up here. I'm not going to sit on this line at this point, but I am going to end up following it here, because again I don't see where that meets fully on my reference images. Bring these up like so. It's always tricky as well with blueprints like this because you don't know whether to go under the line, on the line, or at the top. So we'll just follow the top for now and we'll see how that works for us. So do something like that. Our top view here will be a good one to follow. So I'll bring this all the way in here to the vent. And we'll want these to just follow along here like so. So that looks good. What we can do here is we'll grab this edge, and we'll go to Edit Mesh and Bridge. Just put those two together. Maybe grab this and just pull this out ever so slightly. And this one here. Okay, it's looking decent. So now what we've got is this point here where we want to go all the way into the headlight. So what I think we'll do is we'll grab these edges, we'll hit Ctrl E, and we'll bring these up to the actual light themselves. And at this stage I'm going to grab this point here. Again I'm holding V and merge these together. Now with the points that we have left here, we just want these to kind of follow nicely around the headlight. We'll maybe take this one a little bit lower down here. This one around here. And again, we'll just find for now a happy medium around. And then we can get these fairly close to the actual headlight line itself. Okay. So that's looking good. Cool. So I think what we'll do at this stage is we'll leave that there as the first episode. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold, after selecting here, hold D and hold X. I'm just going to snap the pivot there into the center just by moving it across. Okay, and we're just going to hit Ctrl D, Ctrl G for now. And on that scale, on the X, we're going to hit -1. So we're going to have that section there on both sides. That's going to give us a good idea of the main curvature around the car. We'll be able to see it develop as well. So I think in the next episode what we'll do is we'll continue working on the front area section here. We may get a little bit more details inside these when we start to do some extrusions. We'll work up away and around the lights. The ultimate plan would be to work up across the bonnet, over the roof, down the sides, and then around the back, making a base mesh, separating all the panels, and then adding the details before smoothing at the end. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully see you in episode 2. Cool.